Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. A 31-year-old trainee doctor was raped and murdered in a medical college in Kolkata on the 9th of August. Protests have spread through India demanding justice for the victim. But let's look at how the police has botched up the investigation. First, the police called it a suicide. And when the autopsy confirmed that the victim was raped and killed, the police was slow to act. And then a mob stormed the medical college and vandalized property to terrorize the protesting doctors. The police vanished shortly after the mob appeared. And then on the 13th of August, the Kolkata High Court transferred the case to the CBI. A flowchart made by a petitioner's counsel on the sequence of events in this horrific case was also shown in the High Court. In this flowchart, the counsel shows how attempts were made to cover up this brutal rape and murder. There are several holes in this investigation over the last couple of days. Why was there an attempt to pass this rape and murder as a suicide? Why did the principal of the hospital not lodge a formal complaint with the police? How did a mob of 7,000 people suddenly appear and attack this hospital? How did the deceased suffer injuries like a broken neck, a broken left leg, ankle and finger? The autopsy report doesn't explain these injuries. And most importantly, who is protecting the rapists in this horrific case? Joining me to discuss this evening are Dr. Alexander Thomas, the Consortium of Accredited Healthcare Organizations, Lita Kumaramangalam, former chairperson of the NCW, and in the studio with me here is my colleague Nivriti Mohan. Welcome to the News9 Plus show. I want to start by asking Lalitha Kumaramangalam this. 2012 Nirbhaya, 2013 Park Street, 2016 the Jisha rape and murder case, 2017 Unnao, 2017 Shimla, 2020 Hathras. This is a list, a shameful list of names and places. What is it that makes the Kolkata rape and murder case so different from all of this, based on what we've been seeing over the last couple of days?
Sandeep, there are lots of things that are exactly the same. These were all horrible, heinous crimes. But what makes this difference is the seeming deliberate effort by the state to cover up and to ensure that the investigation is botched. I use that word ensure very consciously. You know, when Nirbhaya happened, yes, we hung our heads in shame as we have for all the rapes and many, many more that we see happening everywhere all over the country. But to give her credit, Sheila Dikshit ji, who was then Chief Minister, and remember she was not a BJP Chief Minister, so I'm not trying to play politics here.
Right.
She acted immediately. She made no excuses. She did not try and say that, oh, I'm going to sit on dharna with all the others, etc., all that drama, nothing of that she did. She worked to see that whatever could be done to help that poor child was done. Quite, in the opposite manner, Mamata here is behaving like a truculent, out of control, spoiled, I don't want to use political terms, but certainly very entitled Chief Minister. What is even more frightening is that there are too many people who are politicians or opinion makers, etc., who are keeping their mouths zipped over the terrible crime that has occurred. There are also, as you know, there are all sorts of videos doing the rounds on social media, but there are some of them which undeniably are genuine. And on top of all of this, the Kolkata police, the West Bengal police, has started sending threatening notes to people on social media, which are also available, anybody can read them, I think, saying that you are spreading slanderous allegations. Right. People who were there present in that night when that huge, the crowd of rowdies stormed that college said that the police hid in the bathroom. They have no reason to lie about it. Right. They are people whose children, whose daughters, mothers, wives, etc. go out in the night. They are terrified. I had a Bengali mother, and I am ashamed that the Bengal where I grew up as a little child, used to roam around unattended, nobody bothered, is today in this shape and state. This is not the West Bengal that one hears about. I mean, this is,
Absolutely.
Bengali women are supposed to be relatively better educated, much more powerful.
Yes.
Their icon, their god is Durga. And you know
Right.
what route Durga can take. This is
Absolutely.
not Durga's land. There is something seriously wrong in that state. And I also have to say that personally, I feel that Mamata is totally out of control. I don't think she's the one running the show there. I
Right.
don't think so. Mamata herself has faced a lot of violence from the leftists, etc. I really think that there's something seriously,
Absolutely.
you know, I would say like a case of very serious political or whatever influenza, or maybe even the political version of COVID there. You know,
Yes, so it boggles the mind, ma'am, that the kind of cover-up that
Yes.
we've been seeing in the last couple of
Unimaginable.
days, it is really, and as you mentioned, I mean, West Bengal, and as we've highlighted in the past, West Bengal, the land of Ma Durga, is seeing these kind of heinous crimes against women. But I want to bring in Dr. Alexander Thomas in on this. Dr. Thomas, we've been talking over the last 2 years. I remember when you had those incidents in Rajasthan of doctors being targeted to violence. Now, I'm just reading this notification issued by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, which says that in the event of violence against any on-duty healthcare workers, the head of the institution will be responsible for filing an FIR within a maximum of 6 hours of the incident. You think that is going to act in cases like this where doctors, healthcare workers have been targeted? Or do you think that this is just, another token step, to kind of deflect the blame from what has happened, this horrific crime that we've seen in Kolkata?
Thank you for having me, Sandeep. I also represent, apart from the Consortium of Accredited Hospitals, also the Association of Healthcare Providers and the Association of National Board Accredited Organizations.
Yes.
Madam has spoken about things in general, but I want to focus on the medical fraternity, the healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, others. And we can give you a chronology of events, but I'll just stick to the last few. In 2022, we had Dr. Archana Sharma,
Yes.
42-year-old mother who died because of harassment. 2023, we had a very young child, colleague of us, Dr. Archana Das, stabbed to death by a pretrial patient. And now we have this brutal, this horrendous act. And the medical fraternity is actually once again engulfed in profound grief and absolute outrage.
Right.
These things happen. What happens? People talk about it. I won't comment too much about the notification which you just read. Announcements are made, things die down, the same thing happens again and again. I think this is
Right.
not acceptable. We need to absolutely change it. And as I said, we have made multiple, IMA and HPI have made multiple representations to the
Right.
We have met the ministers, we've been given promises, but I think the time has now come to say enough is enough. And unless we are guaranteed protection, especially our women folk, it's going to be difficult for us to continue saving lives and treating the hospital. I think the community needs to know about it, the community
Yes.
needs to act for it. And in addition to the government, till now, the government has been strangely silent. You know that during COVID, we lost almost 3,000 of our colleagues,
Yes,
health workers.
absolutely.
We were beaten. We were not allowed to get the dead were not allowed to be buried. Nurses were, ASHA workers were beaten, were abused. Government needed our help at that time. They brought in a law.
Yes.
Soon as the need was over, I feel very hurt to say this, but soon as the law was over, we were promised by the highest authority in the land that this would stay.
Yes.
It was removed. We have reached this very, very sorry
Yes.
state of affairs.
Right, right. Absolutely. Madam Nirmal Kaur, former DGP of Jharkhand, joins us now. Ma'am, welcome to the News9 Plus show. I want to ask you this, in this case of this horrific Kolkata rape and murder case that we are discussing, there seems to be an element of collusion between, it seems, the administration and the perpetrators. Why are such attempts being made to protect the perpetrators of this heinous act? We've seen cases over the past, as Madam Kumaramangalam also mentioned, that in Delhi, that Nirbhaya case shook all of us. But there was an apolitical response to it. political parties across the spectrum condemned this. They took action to ensure some cases like this never recurred. But in Kolkata, something similar has happened. The administration seems to be hand in glove with some of these perpetrators. There are attempts being made to protect them, to destroy evidence. FIRs are not being registered. What's your take on this, ma'am? Why is this happening? Is this some level of political involvement?
It is a highly politicized scenario. You see, there are over a dozen women MPs from Trinamool Congress itself at center. None of them has spoken a word. I mean, even men should speak, but women's more so, because a young lady has been brutalized, murdered, raped, and left in a very sad situation where the parents were first told that it's a suicide.
Yes.
Then when they got to see the body after a long time of waiting, the woman was, her arms akimbo, legs akimbo, and bleeding from all kinds, neck broken, the collarbone, all kinds of funny things, she was brutally brutalized body.
Yes.
Very inhuman. The treatment was meted out. And then they say the semen which has been taken out is 120 cc.
Right.
Which, with my 40 years of experience, perhaps indicates that there were at least 3 men.
Right.
3 people. Because 50 cc normally we take, for a very, very high person. But 120 is definite because you don't take out everything. Now when you take out swabs.
Right.
So 120 cc of semen indicates at least 3 men. And maybe the people are, in Bengal, everything is politicized. Everything is done by what Trinamool cadres say. Whether you're running a rice mill or you're running the local police station. There's an institution called contractual police employees, which is a very funny institution. There's some kind of para-law enforcement officers. And this fellow Sanjay Roy, who has been caught, is one of them. He's a contractual employee, something in the police. And he was staying in the police barracks over there. His uniform is very close to that of the police.
Right.
He was a tout, managing admissions, beds, not only for that hospital, for other hospitals also. He was very much a tout. And there, everything, if you need a hospital a bed in the hospital, you need Trinamool card. If you're running, you want to give your rice for milling somewhere, you'll have to give it to the mill at the rate the Trinamool cadres want.
Right.
Every small thing of economic, social, any activity in life, it cannot run without Trinamool cadres. So I believe that Trinamool cadres are out to protect their own. This is a very conjecture, a very educated conjecture which anyone can make. You don't need
absolutely.
Ma'am,
you've actually highlighted this issue of the very, very volatile nature of politics in West Bengal, especially when it comes to crimes against women. We've seen that in Sandesh Khali, we've seen that in the Park Street rape case, Nivriti, and now more recently in the Kolkata rape and murder case, where everything is linked to the Trinamool Congress, either in one way or the other. The fact that any attack, any such incident like this is being seen as an attack on the state government and the party that leads the government. But Nivriti, I want to ask you this. You've covered the Nirbhaya case in 2012, that horrific case that occurred in December 16, 2012, all the way up to the sentencing of the accused and finally their execution in 2020. 4 of them were hanged to death. Tell me, as a reporter and as a lawyer, your feelings about this particular case. What is your take on this particular case? You see justice delayed being justice denied. I mean, this was a fast-track case, if I remember correctly, the Nirbhaya case. It still took 8 years for justice to be delivered. And here you're looking at a case that even before the FIR has been filed, it's already politicized.
Right. So, in Nirbhaya case particularly, as you have also mentioned, it was a fast track case.
Yes.
It was put on fast track because it was very much highlighted.
And the rarest of the rare kind of cases.
Rarest of the rare case, 6 people involved in it, and brutally, Nirbhaya was brutally raped and thrown on a road, and then nobody to pick them up.
Absolutely. It shook the nation's conscience, and I think everyone came together. There were street protests of the kind that we haven't seen, protesting this very, very brutal crime. But what's the larger message out of that? Even the rarest of the rare case, Nivriti, took almost 8 years.
It took almost 8 years because there is a procedure in law. I must tell you, even after the sentence was announced, it almost took an year for them, for the entire system to get them executed
Right.
actually.
Right.
So they had to, the parents had to file another petition so that the execution can take place
Yes.
faster. But then what happened, they exploited the lawyers of all the four culprits. They
Yes.
exploited each and every loophole of law.
Right.
Like when they went for some review petition,
Yes.
when after sentence, then review petition was not filed together by all the convicts.
Right.
It was taken up one by one. They kept on filing it in order to delay the entire process.
Right.
So had it been 6 culprits
Yes.
together, then it would have taken longer period.
Right.
So they did it for all the remedies that were available to them, including the mercy petition. So
Yes.
for mercy petition also they did not go together. So all these aspects are also to be taken care of, and as you mentioned some of the cases which are really known to the public.
Yes.
These are the cases which were highlighted, but there are 30,000 cases that of rape that
Yes.
occurred every year.
Right.
Around 3.3 lakh cases in last 10 years. That makes it an
Absolutely,
average of
but you know,
30,000
like you
cases.
said, Nivriti, the fact that cases like this were delayed on account of the process of law itself, of the the long, lengthy procedural delays and all of that you've highlighted. But the fact is that in this case, even before the FIR is filed, there's an attempt at covering it up. I'm going to ask Lita Kumaramangalam this: the fact that evidence is destroyed, the perpetrators are not identified. This is actually a case that's, as of today, it's unsolved. We don't know who the perpetrators were. We have one person who's been exposed, who's been identified, Sanjoy Roy, but no, and as our panelists have brought out very clearly, there seem to be more than one person involved. There is an attempt to shield the culprits in this case. Lalitha Kumaramangalam, how do you see this, ma'am? In this particular case, do you see justice being denied at the very beginning itself, rather than this entire long procedural delays that we've been talking about in past cases like this? This case is in a league of its own.
Right from the beginning, there is an open cover-up,
Right.
without conscience, without any hesitation. It looks like there's a cover-up. Making sure that they gather the evidence, that they stop people from from spoiling the evidence, etc., compromising the evidence.
Right.
What are they doing? They're sending threatening notes to people who are, talking on social media. Everybody knows that social media sometimes exaggerates, and many of us don't believe a lot of what we hear on social media or even see. But the point here is that not only that, the head of the institution, why was he given, transferred to another hospital? It looks like he was given an elevation. He should have been sacked. There are too many things that the state government has done, and Mamata is madly doing, saying that I am going to do in these dharnas. Considering she's both Home and Health Minister and the Chief Minister, who's she going to protest against? This is her state.
Right.
She has no sense and no intention of taking any sort of even moral responsibility. When this happens in all the other states, everybody says the CM should resign. I'm not saying it's wrong. Even I have sometimes said it when you're really angry and upset.
Yes.
But the point here is the total lack of culpability that the state is showing. Whether it's their 12 women MPs who are making very general, hawa mein baat kar rahe sort of comments, or whether it is people from other people from the party, their leaders, who are very verbose leaders like Derek O'Brien, etc., who are making such general, off-the-cuff, almost in-the-air remarks. It is a matter of such shame, both nationally and more especially for the state. It's like I live in Tamil Nadu. If something like this happens here, everybody would be out of the states, on the street, regardless. People there seem afraid to even come out to protest, Sandeep.
Right.
What is this? It is very clear that the mob that went in there with the single-minded intention of trying to destroy as much evidence as they could. This nonsense that they are talking, I really wish I could use stronger words, but I'm on national television. This nonsense that they are talking about, no, they were 50 yards or 100 yards or 20 yards from the room where it happened. There are many technical reasons that can be given. They have compromised, I'm 100% sure, I'm 100% sure they have compromised You know, things like shoe marks and
Right.
handprints, and all of this. And nobody seems to be even reacting with any sense of responsibility in the entire West Bengal administration.
Absolutely.
What sort of administration
Horrific.
is this?
Yes, it's a
Yeah,
total lack of
as
culpability, as you
our
mentioned. Yes.
as Sandeep ji, as our friend from Chhattisgarh, the former DGP pointed out, nothing moves in West Bengal without the TMC's nod.
Right.
Nothing. I mean, you want anything, you have to go via the TMC. So the machinery there is so well entrenched.
Yes.
What are they doing now?
What are
Why
they doing now,
not
indeed?
moving?
Yes. And I'm going to ask,
Like-
ma'am, I'm going to ask Dr. Alexander Thomas this very dark prognosis given by Lita Kumaramangalam, which is the head of the NCW, former head of the NCW. She's seen many such cases, but this particular case, by the virtue of the kind of politicization that we've seen and the kind of attempts to destroy evidence, Dr. Alexander Thomas, doctors all over the country are outraged. It's not just common citizens, of course. Doctors have particular reason to be scared of this. If you're unable to protect, healthcare workers, doctors in places where they work, what to talk of the common citizens in the streets outside. But this particular case, Dr. Thomas, how outraged is the medical community, and what are you going to be doing in the next days ahead to ensure that justice is served on the perpetrators of this horrific act?
So, Sandeep, it's not only doctors. I think we have to look at all healthcare workers.
Yes.
I just read that, I don't know whether it's true, so I'm not commenting, that a nurse was raped in Jharkhand or somewhere in the north, but I know that a nurse
Yes.
was molested, a surgeon was molested in Kolkata. So, yes, the medical fraternity is, we are very angry, but I think generally we are a soft target and we don't react too much because we provide a very service which is very,
Yes.
very essential. We keep it in mind. But I think the time has come now that we have to do something. We have to ensure that the government, the policymakers, and the public know what is happening. So, in a nutshell, what are we planning to do? The IMA, we are working under leadership of the IMA and HBI and all the other organizations are stopping non-essential services from
Yes.
Saturday to Sunday. That's one thing. But this time we have resolved that we're not going to stop. Just ask the government and keep quiet about this thing, so about what has happened. So what are we going to ask? Ask is that, as I told you, there was during COVID when we were needed, the government made adequate measures. They passed a bill which protected healthcare workers and very strict punishments to those who assaulted healthcare workers. Because I think prevention is very important. People need to be aware and need to know the consequences of their action. That is one thing that we are going to follow up. Now, one of the other advisories that we are giving our hospital is that they have to look after their staff, especially our women folk. They work so hard, they work in their own spaces, and to be attacked and exploited and killed in your own is absolutely unavoidable. And I think I've shared with you a copy of the book that we have written on perils in practice.
Yes.
Again, that was, my colleagues here talking at the national level at women folk. It is shameful, but my expertise is more within the healthcare sector, so I will limit myself to that. So we have already asked, put out a guidebook saying what our healthcare workers should do in situations of impending violence. We've had a national health conclave where we had policymakers come in. And at the end of it, nothing has moved. So we're actually focusing mainly that the central government passes this bill which protects healthcare workers,
Yes.
make hospitals safe zone. The other thing that we are hoping to do is, the residents, we have all been through residency. The resident, actually in most of the hospital, the resident is the backbone of the hospital. And unfortunately, even today, the resident works 36 hours, sometimes 48 hours. So we are talking to the NMC, we are writing to all our stakeholders, saying that the residents should not work more than 24 hours. If they work more than 24 hours, they should be given a break. They should be given adequate protection, adequate facilities where they work. Because in this particular case, this young child had to go to a seminar room to take her rest. And it was after 36 hours, so she must have been absolutely physically tired. So these are some things that we are looking at it from our side and trying to make some reforms. But the major issue is that we want the government to come up with this law We want the public, we want
Yes.
the media, everybody to understand that we work under very difficult situations. And at the end of the day, if we do not remedy this, what's going to happen? The bright young minds, already many bright young minds who wanted to come into medicine are not coming into medicine because of violence, because of stress.
Yes.
So we will, if we don't take adequate precautions, if we don't take steps now, it's going to hurt the nation.
Absolutely, it's going to hurt the nation, and I'm glad you said it, Dr. Thomas. The fact that you're going to not take this lying down, this particular incident you're going to follow it to its logical conclusion, and of course, we here at News9 promise to do the same. We will not take the spotlight off this case for as long as the perpetrators not caught and not hunted down, not convicted for their crimes. But thank you very much, Lalitha Kumaramangalam, Dr. Alexander Thomas, Nirmal Kaur and my colleague Nivriti Mohan here in the studio with me. Thanks for joining us this evening to talk about this horrific rape and murder in Kolkata, about who is really shielding, who's sheltering these perpetrators of this heinous crime. Assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir. That's a surprise sprung today by the Election Commission. The first phase of these elections will be on the 20th of August, the second, the 29th of August, and the third phase on the 5th of September. Now, the Election Commission has complied with the Supreme Court's directive for elections to be held in J&K by the 30th of September. This will be the first Jammu and Kashmir elections in a decade, the state elections that is, and it will be 5 years since the abrogation of Article 370. Since then, things have changed on the ground, but given the security situation, all candidates will require security cover. That's what makes the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly elections different from all the other elections that are due to be held over the next couple of months. Take, for instance, the EC's estimates that something like 15 to 20 candidates are likely to contest from each constituency. There are a total of 90 seats in the Assembly. That means 16,000 security personnel will be needed just for the security cover of all the candidates. So the questions we are asking today about the Jammu and Kashmir elections are, firstly, is Jammu and Kashmir ready for Assembly elections? What do these elections mean for the restoration of full statehood for the Union Territory? How does the recent spurt of terror attacks impact these upcoming Assembly polls? And joining me to discuss this are Mr. S.P. Vaid, former Director General of Police, Jammu and Kashmir, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, defense expert and former DG Infantry, and in the studio here with me is my colleague Aditya Rajkol. Aditya, surprise, historic announcement today. Election Commission's call for elections in Jammu and Kashmir. And General Munir seems to have had a similar epiphany when he's planned these attacks in Jammu, exactly what we've been talking over the last couple of weeks. The terror attacks in Jammu seem to have been timed with the declaration of elections in the state. What are the biggest challenges going to be, apart from law and order, maintaining security in these Assembly elections?
You know, Sandeep, first a confession, even I had not predicted that the dates would be announced today. Although there was a speculation for the last few weeks,
yes,
we were being told that the dates would be announced, but you know, politicians in Jammu and Kashmir,
right,
and people who watch Jammu
everyone's
Kashmir,
taken by surprise.
We are taken by surprise. In fact, since morning today, I
yes,
received phone calls from some politicians in Kashmir,
right,
asking me that what is the inside gossip that you're hearing.
Right.
I told them that, you know, I've heard that the dates are being announced,
yes,
but I personally don't believe
yes,
the speculation. Finally, the dates are out. I had also thought that, you know, Amarnath Yatra is underway.
yes,
There's a huge component of security detail that's already there, the
right,
paramilitary companies,
right,
and that would be now utilized,
yes,
for the three-phase election that will happen in September and October. Security is the most important factor when
absolutely,
it comes to Jammu and Kashmir.
Number one.
As someone who has covered the Assembly elections in December 2014,
yes,
I can tell you that it's of immense significance. You know, all the candidates across party lines want the security to be
yes,
there, and now the EC has assured
right,
that the same would happen. Apart from that, of course, there are internal and external factors that are very significant and important.
yes,
There is the Pakistan factor, the new front that has been opened in Jammu,
yes,
which is of significance. But I think the biggest headline from today's press conference,
right,
is the restoration of democracy
Yes.
the electoral democracy that is going to happen in Jammu and Kashmir, it not only sends a resounding message internationally
Yes.
that India confirmed that elections will happen,
Right.
and 5 years after the nullification of Article 370,
Yes.
once there is certain kind of an order,
Right.
bureaucracy is in place, now we'll have elections and a government that will come into power. But then second biggest question that
Yes.
perhaps we will discuss later is the political connotation of this.
Yes.
The political challenge for the BJP, because as this moment,
Right.
in Kashmir, National Conference is on a very strong wicket.
Yes.
In Jammu, BJP is on a very strong wicket, but none of the regional of the political parties alone can form the government.
Right.
So will we see a NC-BJP
Right.
come in like BJP, PDP, or will we see an India alliance government
Yes.
where National Conference, Congress and perhaps a few independents come together?
Absolutely, and well put, Aditya. The fact that elections in Jammu and Kashmir are a completely different ball game, because I don't think there's any other assembly election in India that gets international attention
Absolutely.
as the Jammu and Kashmir elections do, and it's well and good that the Election Commission has decided to call these elections as soon as possible. I think enthused by the response in the Lok Sabha.
And sorry to cut you short, but the expectations are higher this time.
Yes.
The successful Lok Sabha elections that have happened,
Absolutely.
in which you have almost 60% voting,
Yes.
unprecedented. Even the boycott vote
Right.
has been put in a certain way. So the question is, will Engineer Rashid also contest assembly elections? Will he have his own candidates out there and perhaps be a
yes.
part of the government later?
Will Engineer Rashid also contest? But that's a topic that we will take up shortly. But I want to ask Mr. SP Vaid this. Mr. Vaid, the number one challenge for these elections, the surprise elections that the Election Commission has called for, is going to be security. How confident are the police and the paramilitary forces and of course the Indian Army of handling the task of protecting all these candidates that are going to contest in this three-phase election?
Good evening, Sandeep. In fact, holding election in Jammu Kashmir is always a challenge. I have been through many elections in different, whether it is 1995 Parliament
Yes.
election, 96 Assembly election, 2002 Assembly election, and a subsequent election. Why I mentioned these two? Because after all hell broke down in 1990 in Kashmir, after 6 years of governor's rule, the first time 1996, it was bringing a political government was in fact a very big challenge for all those who were working at that time, and we were able to successfully conduct 2002 election also. Why I'm mentioning 2002, 2001 and 2, in all the 35 years of terrorism, but the peak years of terrorism, you take any criteria of
Yes.
violence,
Yes.
it was the highest 2001 and 2, and even at that time elections were conducted.
Right.
We have very well laid out SOP. You have to protect all the candidates, and on an
Yes.
average, as you were mentioning, in each assembly you have about 15 to 20 candidates.
Right.
Roughly, let's take an average of 15 to 16. So that means 90 assembly constituencies means if you multiply by 220, so it will be roughly how much? 90 into 20.
It's almost
80.
a division-sized force that would be required only to protect the candidates. 16,000 security force.
Candidate has to be protected, because if
Yes.
candidate is harmed, the election gets countermanded, and
Right.
we have a SOP that each candidate has to be provided a bulletproof vehicle,
Yes.
and also an escort vehicle. Then not only protection of the candidates, you have to see that they have to campaign, they have to interact in their assembly
Yes.
constituency, and rallies have to be conducted. They have to go door to door for campaigning. Now you need to cover all those areas where they have to go for campaigning. Yeah, simultaneously, even the areas where he has to travel, the roads they have to travel. For example, some candidate is traveling from Poonch to Surankot,
Yes.
or let's say Rajouri to Buddhal area. So that route has to be covered. So it's a huge.
It's a mammoth exercise, and I'm going to ask General Sanjay Kulkarni this. General Kulkarni, a division-size force would be required to protect all the candidates in the 90 assembly constituencies. And of course, Mr. Vaid has seen many such successful elections. He's supervised many of them. But what is the larger message? Tell our viewers that what is the larger message that India is giving out with this surprise announcement of Jammu and Kashmir elections today?
Thank you, Sandeep. First and foremost, I would go along with Mr. Vaid for the challenges that are faced, because I happened to be there in Doda from 96 to 99, and I saw one of it. And I saw the kind of festivities that these elections are associated with.
Yes.
It needs, and because those are the days militancy was at its peak,
Right.
and then the elections were announced, and I found all these people from Saruri to Mr. Abdullah to all kinds of candidates, even addressing 20 people, 25 people, 30 people, not large rallies or something like that. It was wonderful. First and foremost, there's a festive feeling which I noticed amongst the people, and subsequently also there is a lot, steam that comes out, and a lot of these things happen. So it's, for me personally speaking, good thing. If elections do take place, it's a good thing, because people, they can't blame their own political leaders for what is not happening on ground, because much that anybody else do. Secondly, of course, it also would lead to what you were all discussing earlier.
Yes. People
like Rashid. Now, Rashid is a person who has been in jail for almost treason, all kinds of things that they are, disruptive, decisive forces that he represents. Those are the kind of people get elected. These elections also tell you that what's there in the mind of the people. There are a lot of development taking place, a whole lot of things happening, but the mind is also very important. You see what is happening in countries. You could have development, but then the mind is working somewhere else. And that is very important. Lots of development is taking place. People are aware, and people are wanting to take advantage and are taking advantage of the development, be it in the fields of tourism, trade, education, everything and anything. But when it comes to the mindset, we'll get to know in these assembly elections what is the kind of mindset and what kind of candidates are being thrown up. As regards the safety and security is concerned, yes, a major challenge for the police. There's no denying the fact. But as regards the armed forces are concerned, all over the countryside, whether it be because they are being conducted in 3 phases.
Yes.
If supposing it's Kishtwar and Doda in phase 1, Rajouri and Punj in phase 2, and Jammu, Katwa, Samba in phase 3, it can be handled. It is nothing that it can't be handled. It is very much doable. It conveys to everyone, to Pakistan, to all the people who are supporters of Pakistan, that despite and disruption that they were wanting to do, and try and show the image of India that all this was facade and they actually didn't want elections, is now being proved wrong. India wanted elections. India is willing to go along with it and see what, how people throw up, what kind of government comes up. It's so much better. So, and therefore, it's almost like an egg on the face of Pakistan, egg on the face of all the people in India who are supporting Pakistan, and realize it, wow, irrespective of whatever it is, the elections are being held. And now there will be a festive mood, but security, as a challenge, we have to be careful, because one odd deaths here, killings there, firings there, do lead to a little bit of a problem, and postponing this, that and everything. But I think it's a good thing, Sandeep, that elections will be held.
It's a good thing, and absolutely, we get to know the pulse of the people. Nothing like an election to tell you what the people actually think of the changes. And I'm going to ask Sajid Yusuf Shah this. He joins us from Srinagar. Sajid is with the BJP. Sajid, tell us firstly, how much of a surprise was these announcement of the elections today by the Election Commission, and what do you think the mood of the people is now, given that you've conducted a very successful parliamentary election? You saw record turnout over 65% in Jammu and Kashmir. What's the mood on the ground right now with the election announcement?
Thank you, Sandeep. First of all, I think it's a welcome step taken by the ECI, because I think that it's the right time to announce the elections, and I think the elections the dates has already finalized, And when it comes to the mood of the people, if you will see the parliament elections in the Jammu and Kashmir, a lot of people vote for the injury sheet. Some people vote for the National Conference and the BJP in Jammu region. But nowadays, the people of the North Kashmir, they say that injury sheet is in the jail. So we have wasted our vote. So I don't think so that people from the North Kashmir, they are going to vote again for the injury sheet, because they know very well that yes, he was a good speaker in the parliament, but the thing is now he is in jail. Maybe I heard that his brother may contest elections from the Langate constituency, and I'm sure that he will win because the people of the Langate constituency, they are with the injury sheet. But when it comes to other places of the Jammu and Kashmir, we have seen the BJP may open its political desk in the Kashmir Valley this time. We are hopeful, because when we see the lot of things, the change which has happened from the last almost a decade now, we have seen on the ground that a lot of the Hurriyat leaders, they are right now on the bar. Some of them are dead. So there is no hartal call, there is no band call. So I think the voter turnout, it may increase better than the parliament elections, because a lot of people, I met the candidates last time in the parliament elections, people used to say, in the young generation, young people, they used to say that we want to contest elections, but we are from this place, we can't contest from the North Kashmir. So this time, you will see the lot of young faces, they are going to contest elections. Maybe some may win or some may not. So that is a secondary question. But I think it's a welcome step if anybody, irrespective of any political party, if people are going to vote him, I think it's a people's mandate.
It's a people's mandate indeed. That's the slap on the face of the Pakistan army, as General Kulkarni was mentioning, Aditya. But you know, the big question now is, Aditya, what next after these elections, after the assembly elections? At what point do you see statehood being granted to Jammu and Kashmir? That's, the government said that very clearly, that it's not a permanent state, the union territory thing. When will statehood be an issue in Jammu and Kashmir?
You know, firstly, I'll tell you, Sandeep, the two things are very much clear. You know, even if electoral democracy is being restored as it should have been, perhaps earlier, but there are security challenges that need to be looked into. One, that prior to 5th August 2019, whatever rules that were there, whatever guarantees that were being given, whatever the formation of the government or, you know, the kind of ministries that they had, will not remain so.
Right.
It is a new Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes.
It is under the purview of the Indian Constitution.
Right.
Just like any other state or union territory in India, it will get same amount of rights,
Yes.
same amount of ministries,
Right.
and same amount of governance mechanism. This
Right.
is one. Second, as the most critical part,
Yes.
is that law and order,
Right.
which earlier was under the Chief Minister, and the Chief Minister was the Chief of the Unified Command,
Yes.
will not be so.
Right.
The LG will have the law and order. LG and MHA together will decide who to appoint in, you know, across Jammu and Kashmir police.
Right.
And LG will chair the Unified Command meeting that continues to happen now.
That
so
sounds like a Delhi model.
it is a Delhi or a Puducherry model.
Puducherry
Yes,
model,
absolutely.
yes.
So that will be there.
Right.
We might see statehood restoration either prior or post elections,
Yes.
because that's a commitment that Home Minister Amit Shah has made inside the parliament. But I am also of the opinion,
Yes.
because I've watched Kashmir over the last 2 decades, that law and order has to be with MHA.
Yes.
If law and order goes to the Chief Minister, then we'll see the same vicious circle of law and order being disturbed completely.
Absolutely.
Whatever gains have been made post 2017 or post 2019
Right.
will go completely wasted.
Absolutely.
So it's an
That's-
important message. It's an
Right.
important narrative set by India that we walk the talk.
Yes.
Elections will happen no matter who comes to power. It could be national conference, it could be somebody else. But law and order, national security, sovereignty, and our territorial integrity
Yes.
is of immense value
And non-negotiable.
top priority. Non-negotiable.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thanks for putting that in perspective, Aditya. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening as we speak about elections in Jammu and Kashmir and the next steps in that election will result in statehood for Jammu and Kashmir.